Hey one, hey all, welcome to Monday, welcome to Countdown Day, and today we're going to be looking at the top 10 worst shell formers. Last week was the top 10 shelf warmers, S-H-E-L-F-W-A-R-M-E-R-S, and of course that referred to those that lingered on the shelves. Well, that got me thinking about shell formers, S-H-E-L-L-F-O-R-M-E-R-S, being those bots whose alt mode is primarily a shell that might wrap around them. Maybe they have a little bit of transformation. Some of them you understand, some of them are pretty successful. Some of them are just terrible. And according to fan votes, this is the top 10 worst shell forming transformers. That'll be our topic in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit the notification bell, please. Helps me out a ton. Let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And we don't have any honorable mentions this week, actually, which means right away, without any further ado, we can do as we always do and kick things off right away with number 10. First, kicking us off at number 10 is an oldie, but a goodie with this. Classics Megatron, who had a bunch of repaints. I think his last one, and some of these repaints, by the way, were more G1 accurate than others. I think the last one, he had like red translucent wings, and it was a 2-pack with the Classics Optimus. I can't remember what that was for. Nevertheless, this coloration, the first coloration, is the one I picked here because it's the easiest one to show. The fact that the two green wings are the entirety of the blaster mode, really, other than a leg coming down, I think, as like, oh goodness, as like a handle. One of the arms, I think, went up over to become the scope. But generally, if you wanted, and a lot of people did do this, you could really take the wings off and they became like almost their own blaster. And you could still put Megatron's body contorted in the, you know, blaster mode without the shell, but it didn't look right. For the full effect, you had to have the robot surrounded and encased by those wings. Though I know a lot of people took the wings off from robot mode. Yeah, Classics Megatron takes the number 10 slot. Number 9 takes us to Beast Wars, and this, it's Dead End, who turns into like a snail, like a very colorful snail at that. His blaster basically becomes, I think it's a he, his blaster basically becomes the like front of the snail head with the two little antennas basically. And most of his body basically bashes up inside, and you take the two shoulder arm chunks and push them together. It's not elegant, but I guess it works. That said, a lot of people when they go to robot mode are known to take the shell off. Yeah, I mean, the guy turns into a snail. I'm not sure how you were going to handle his shell, but just looking at him, it's obvious that Dead End is one heck of a shell former. How can you argue it? Look at the arms. He takes the number 9 slot. Coming in at number 8, we have this. It is the Age of Extinction Galvatron. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that this Age of Extinction Galvatron is great. I even like that his backpack really collapses and condenses on his back very nicely. But it's really hard to say that this guy's not a shell former, because let's be realistic. If we go back to Age of Extinction, basically for this guy, you had the legs that turned to the side, and that gave you, you know, your tires on the side, and you folded in the feet. But when it came to the entirety of the body, you really just folded the shoulders and arms in, and then all of this expands out and folds up over. The entirety of the waist up is really just encapsulated inside this cab section. The only real transformation you do here worth talking about is with the legs. Yeah, he's a shell former. No doubt about it. He's good, but he's a shell former, and it is kind of a lazy way because maybe you could have handled this better. Either way you cut it, he takes the number 8 slot. Moving on to number 7, we go back to G1 and this. It's Scourge. And those that voted for this, and I don't know this mold personally, but those that voted for this said, look, basically you flip up the toes, put the shell around him, flip up part of the chest over the face, and turn the top around on the head, and that's it. Basically, his whole robot mode, other than flipping up the toes, is encapsulated in the wings that are behind him. I think that that is a theme and a justification that you're going to hear for a lot of these. We've even talked about it a little bit with Dead End already. Anyway you cut it though, it's hard to argue with Scourge, or the Sweeps for that matter, being anything more than shell formers. Back in G1, right up to now. Yeah, G1 Scourge takes the number 7 slot. Coming in at number 6, we have this turd. It was also on last week's list for shelf warmers. Of course, we have Retrax, as you can see here. A couple of people wondered if this would count, but like Retrax literally has a shell on him. That's what that whole back piece is. It's his shell, right? For his Pillbug alt mode. So yes, this was about a shell former. And really, I mean, I remember reviewing this. It's so bad. You're just really taking the legs and crushing them up into his body, and like you're kind of like straightening out the arms, making sure that they lock. It's terrible. He's just awful, and he is definitely a shell former. In fact, the whole gimmick that they built into the shell severely compromises the guy. On GotBot Goes Live last week, as of this recording, we saw what was some concept art from Rise of the Beasts for what could have been a Retrax there. I gotta wonder, even with all the shell bulked up like behind him or on his shoulders, because I'm sure he would have still been a shell former, would it have been pulled off in plastic better? It was a bit of a weird design, but at least it didn't have all the shell junk on his arms. It looked like it was more on his shoulders and his back. I feel like it could have worked out kind of like Rise of the Beasts. Rhinox in robot mode, maybe, coulda. Anyway, that's just me waxing philosophically, because at the end of the day, the original, or I guess the reissue, of Beast Wars Retrax takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd because we've reached the ever coveted, ever popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we go to Beast Wars Neo and... ooh, Big Convoy. This is, of course, one of the original Big Convoys, not the Age of the Primes, though I think the Age of the Primes will be really good as well. And a couple of people said, oh, the parts get in the way of the articulation. Oh, the parts fall off during transformation. Oh, you can't get any of the panels to line up. None of that's true. I'm sorry. None of that's true. I reviewed this guy a little while ago. I expected all these problems based on what people said. I found the transformation buttery smooth. Everything lines in and pegs in just fine. I've had nothing that has fallen off of him. And to my shock and amazement, while it's all shell and bits and pieces around him, he has a huge range of motion on every single joint. Nothing gets in the way. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't think it. But if you don't believe me, go back and watch the review, which I'll probably put a card up in the corner or something. Anyway, splendid robot. But man, I remember seeing this on the shelf when it first came out thinking, that's a disaster. That's terrible. I was very lucky to get this from a good friend of the channel, Eric. And to this day, I'm so appreciative of it. I think the Age of the Primes one will also be pretty much a shell former, and I think it too will be good. This is one of those where you look at it and you're skeptical about it because it looks pretty bulky, pretty junky with all of the bits on them. And some people have said you could take off all of the bits and still make the Mammoth. I haven't tried that, but I can believe that you could do that. Anyway you cut it, Big Convoy with all of his bits and pieces hanging off him. I mean, look at the back of the guy. Good, not good. Anyway you cut it, he is definitely a shell former, and he takes the number 5 slot. Coming in number 4 is this. Do I really even need to say anything more? Because his alt mode is next to the robot mode. Now I have a KO of break, and you can't take off the chunks that are on his arms because his forearms are molded into those pieces. So his bulk has to stay there. But the real version of the guy, yeah, you could take off the part that wraps around the core of his body from his back. Yeah, you could take off the essentially feet and beak off of his shoulders, and if you undo the screws, you can take the back of the guy off of his arms. When you can literally take off the entire shell and put the alt mode next to the robot mode as two distinct entities, how can you argue with it being one of the absolute worst, laziest shell formers? I get it, and poor Break takes the number 4 slot. Coming in number 3, we have one that I don't think is going to surprise anyone with this. It's Cybertron Thunderblast. I mean, I think Thunderblast is a she. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, she has an entire boat on her back and a couple of wings back there, and everybody said the same thing. There's a boat on her back, and what's not boat gets wrapped up in the wings. I don't know this mold either. I don't know how effective it is. I don't know how much the bulk gets in the way. But looking at it, it's easy to tell. Like, she could be on worst backpacks, which she may have been when we done that. I can't recall now. She could definitely be on shell formers. I'd love to know if she could be on most articulated, to be honest with you. I don't think she did. But maybe, because the robot isn't hindered by a bunch of, you know, parts that need to move to transform to become something. Maybe, I don't know. But I definitely know that she's a shell former. And for that reason, she takes the number 3. Yeah, 3 slot. Oh, we're closing into number 1. But at number 2, we have this. I mean, HasLab Unicron, again, I don't really need to say anything. Look at the atrocious backpack. Look at the lower legs. The entirety of the planet is a bunch of panels that are on those parts that just come out and lock into each other around the body. In fact, I know that there's a 3D printable section that can go inside of the entire planet core so that you can take the whole planet off of the robot so that one has absolutely nothing to do with the other. We talked about being able to remove the entire alt mode a little bit earlier when we looked at Brake. Same thing here, except the difference is Brake at the time was probably $10 or $12, and this thing was, if I'm not mistaken, $575 US plus tax, plus shipping and all that stuff. I know in Canada, by the time you did everything, it was like $1,300 for the biggest shell former ever. Just terrible, just lazy, and it takes the number 2 slot. And now here we are, very tippy top number 1, and this one I think is going to very much seem a little bit like deja vu from last week, because this one also appeared on last week's shelf warmers list, and it's Earthrise RC. She took number 1 because, like with a lot of others, people said, look, if you really want, you can take the entirety of the car section off and have it be a separate car and a separate robot. A little bit of work, but you can do it. Even if you don't do that, half of her shell comes off to become that weird little skid thing that she goes on. And even if you forget about that and leave it all up on her back like this, at the end of the day, when you open this car stuff out, none of this transforms. None of it really does anything. Yeah, okay, so you fold up some legs and you put in some feet, but it doesn't really do anything to transform in any major discernible way. You just sort of open everything out on the backpack and jam it down around so that she looks like a soap dish sports car. Yeah, Earthrise RC takes the number 1 slot for worst Transformer shell former, according to fan votes. And that's 10 down to 1 once again. Other ones that had votes include the Nike Optimus Prime, the one that turns into a sneaker. Earthrise Rhinox, a little bit, I suppose. Animated Junkion, I don't know if they meant Wreck-Gar. Wreck-Gar also had votes, by the way. Dark of the Moon, Voyager, Sentinel Prime. I only know the leader class, I think, so I'm not sure how much of a shell former the Voyager is, but I feel like I heard that it was. Kingdom Tracks, maybe. I guess certainly the upper body would be a bit shell forming, but I don't know if I would really call that a shell former. Beast Wars Dead Gun. I don't know this one. I assume it's something like Dead End. Overcharge, that one surprised me. I don't think of the Blitzwing mold as a shell former at all. Lifeline, which used the Paradron Medic, which used the RC mold. What else did we have here that had votes? Mac Kick, yes, Mac Kick from Beast Wars Neo. RID Sideburn. You know what? A lot of that car is really on his back, you're right. Combiner Wars Blastoff? That one sort of surprises me. Blastoff doesn't have any shell. I don't understand that one. Legacy Prime RC? I'm not sure what's a shell on Legacy Prime RC either, but had votes. What else do we have here? The last night Berserker. The TF1 Quintesson High Commander, that never came here first or last, so I know nothing about that mold at all. Revenge of the Fallen Brawn, apparently you could take all the car part, or I guess vehicle parts, off of his shoulders and legs and stuff. And one more just for good measure. What is this one? Oh, had trouble reading my own handwriting there, sorry. Beast Wars Ironhide from Magna Boss. I mean, yeah. Beast Wars Ironhide turns into like an elephant. Has a lot of junk on him. As much or more than Big Convoy, honestly. So those and even more. I mean, a lot of shell formers. Some good, some not so good. Some the shell really gets in the way, some it doesn't. Some it looks bad, but it's surprising how functional it is. Man, I tell you what, not really an easy topic. Really not an easy topic for voters to have to vote on this time around. At least I didn't think so. Did your favorite or least favorite shell formers make the list or not? I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button, stick around and have some fun with us here on the channel. And don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way, right here inside the videos.